Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that so many of you are on today. Before we begin, I'd just like to say while we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to wait till the end of the webinar just for time's sake. And those of you that can stay on, we can go through those questions. So I'd like to introduce myself. I am Chris. For lack of a better term, I'm a wellness coach. My background includes 30 years in the medical field. I started off as a medical assistant before the age of 19. I went back to school, got a degree in respiratory therapy. I transitioned or cross-trained into a GI lab and worked as a GI technician for about 12 years, doing upper endoscopies and colonoscopies, all that fun stuff. I then transitioned into education where I taught paramedics and EMTs. I also owned and operated my own CPR and first aid training business. And my own health crisis is why I changed teams. I ended up going back to school and getting a diploma in homeopathic medicine. I have a certification in applied clinical nutrition and a certification in nutrition, multiple certifications in nutrition response testing. Lack of a better term, I am a jack of all trades. So let's get started here. So today's webinar title is Common Nutrition Myths Debunked. All right, so what to believe? When it comes to nutrition, knowing what to eat and how much and how often can be confusing. So we are constantly bombarded with media headlines and advertisements about the latest and greatest trends. But these messages don't always have our best health in mind. I was introduced to a book called The Great Cholesterol Myth, just as an example. Coming from my cardiopulmonary background, it was very eye-opening in regards to cholesterol not necessarily being the bad guy. So I'd encourage you to check that one out. All right, so myth number one, all calories are created equally. So how many of us have heard this? Well, I'm here to tell you they're not. This is because the body uses and stores calories differently, depending on the nutrient of each food is comprised of. So in order to understand why calories differ, let's take a look at the different nutrients and how our bodies handle them. So you may have heard foods being described in terms of density. This refers to different nutrients having more or fewer calories packed into the same weight, making them higher or lower calorie density. Calories in foods are grouped as fats, alcohols, carbohydrates, and proteins. So nutrition labels in the US, these are the rule of thumb on those nutrition labels. 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. 1 gram of alcohol has 7 calories. 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates, and that's sugars and starches, has 4 calories. 1 gram of fiber estimated by the US Food and Drug Administration is to be 1.5 calories. While fiber is a carbohydrate, it is not easily digested by the body. It is essentially food for the bacteria in your gut, the good bacteria. So this is why eating 300 calories of chicken is not the same as eating 300 calories of cake. So I'm sorry you can't have your cake and eat it too. All right, myth number two, carbs make you fat. I'm sure we've all heard this one. Popular diets based on this myth. In reality, some carbs are not the enemy, but there are different types of carbs and we should be aware of. So let's take a closer look at carbohydrates so you can learn how to distinguish the good from the bad. So carbs or carbohydrates, as they're called, are one of the three macronutrients. Fat and protein are the others. So the primary function of a macronutrient is to provide the body with energy. So dietary carbohydrates can be split into three main categories. So we have sugars, which are sweet, short chain carbohydrates found in foods. And examples of those are going to be your glucose, your fructose, your galactose, and your sucrose. Starches, which are long chains of glucose molecules, which eventually get broken down into glucose in the digestive system. Then we have fiber. Like I said, humans cannot digest fiber, although the bacteria in the digestive system can make use of them. Again, We're using the fiber to feed the good bacteria. So the problem with carbs is when they are consumed in excess. The body will actually turn those carbs into fat stores as a reserve for an energy source. So when we're eating too many carbs, we are saving up those fat cells for energy. So not all carbs are created equal. Carbs are often referred to as simple versus complex or whole versus refined. Whole carbs are generally considered healthy because they are unprocessed and they do contain the fiber found naturally in the foods. They include vegetables, whole fruit, legumes, potatoes, whole grains. Um, Whole food sources of carbohydrates are also commonly loaded with nutrients. Refined carbs, on the other hand, including sugar sweetened beverages, fruit juices, pastries, white bread, white pasta, white rice, and others, these carbs are highly processed, meaning the natural fiber is removed and have been associated with health problems like obesity and type 2 diabetes. Additionally, refined carbohydrate foods are generally lacking in the essential nutrients. All right, so the good versus the bad. Um, so if we're still a little unclear on which carbs are good and which are bad, we're going to go over a few more here. So good carbs include vegetables, all of them. It is best to eat a variety of vegetables every day. We also have whole fruits. Okay, remember they want us to eat the rainbow: apples, bananas, and strawberries, etc. You also have legumes, lentils, kidney beans, peas. We have nuts, almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts. Seeds, we have chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, whole grains. You want to choose grains that are truly whole, as in pure oats, quinoa, and brown rice. All right, now the bad. Bad carbs are sugary drinks like soda, vitamin water. Yep, vitamin water. It's not good for you. Fruit juices, etc. White breads. So these are refined carbohydrates that are low in essential nutrients and bad for your metabolic health, which applies to most commercially available breads that we have in this country. Pastries, cookies, and cakes. These tend to be very high in sugar and refined wheat. Ice cream, as much as it pains me to say, most types of ice cream are very high in sugar, although there are some exceptions. Candies and chocolates. If you're going to eat chocolate, you want to choose a high quality dark chocolate, 70 to 90% dark chocolate. 90% is best, although I will say it is really bitter. French fries and potato chips. Even though whole potatoes are healthy, French fries and potatoes and chips are not. All right. Myth number 3: healthy food is more expensive. So this one's a little tricky. It depends on how you look at the cost. So when you're considering the overall cost of your health, it's clear that processed foods are going to be more expensive. It's going to cost your health in the long run. So, filling your cart with fresh produce versus cheap frozen and boxed meals can create a difference in your weekly grocery budget. However, those few bucks you save by purchasing unhealthy foods is really going to end up costing you in the long run, your overall health in the long run. Um, what we use to fuel our bodies determines how efficiently we burn energy. From feeling sluggish and fatigued all day to treating conditions associated with being overweight or even lost wages of being sick. They all affect our bottom line. Spending a little more on healthier foods will save you money and healthcare costs. The fatigue aspect: sugar is very fatiguing. When you have a lot of sugar in a day, it causes fatigue. Countless reports have found how we eat impacts health and spending. A little more on healthy food can drastically reduce our healthcare costs over time. All right, so some tips for eating on a healthy budget. First, you want to ask yourself, what's the most expensive thing you buy? All right, so for many of us, we're going to answer that's either going to be meat or it's going to be dairy. So by purchasing less of these items would be beneficial. I would recommend less dairy only because it's a very highly inflammatory food. I am a fan of carnivore, But you can use the found money to use on this on fresh produce, so that the money that you're saving, you can put it towards produce. This will also contribute to a healthier diet overall. If you're worried about the protein component, you can try beans, quinoa, and eggs, which are cheaper than meat products. Swapping some of your meat heavy meals with plant based alternatives can help you cut down costs. If you do have a pantry filled with cookies and chips, you're going to be able to reallocate that money to the produce section. So you want to look for seasonal produce. It will be less expensive than something that's out of season, and that can dramatically decrease your grocery bill. You want to shop discounted stores for produce. In this case, produce may have a slightly shorter storage time, but that just means you got to prepare it and consume it sooner than later. So reduce food waste. If you find you're constantly throwing away food, figure out why. Is food going bad, or are you simply making too much? Buying and preparing the right amounts will help you cut down on the cost. For my family, meal prep and a weekly meal plan has saved us. Actually, it's really saved us a lot of money and a lot of waste. We don't throw out leftovers that never got eaten and whatnot. So it makes a difference. Myth number 4, gluten-free is the way to go. All right, so there has been a ongoing fad of gluten-free over the last few years. But the fact is only 1% of the population has a genetic condition called celiac disease. I happen to be that 1%. People with this condition must absolutely avoid gluten at all costs. And if you know anyone with celiac disease, and they talk about the risk of cross contamination, it is very true. We are at a great risk of small bowel cancer if we do not give up gluten. There is only one true way to determine a gluten allergy, and that's with medical testing. They do blood work, and then they follow that up with a small bowel biopsy, which both of those, your blood work and your small bowel biopsy, both have to be positive in order to be diagnosed with celiac disease. So while people with celiac disease need to ditch the gluten, it's not necessary for the rest of us. If you suspect gluten is causing some discomfort, such as gas or bloating, you could try an elimination diet. Gluten is also one of the many food stressors that I test with nutrition response testing. And even if you don't have a problem with gluten, the gluten in this country is a problem, and it's not a bad idea to give it up anyways. Just know that gluten-free foods are not automatically healthier. In fact, gluten substitutes may actually increase your calorie content and contribute to weight gain. When you actually read the packages, again, this is processed foods, which really we shouldn't be eating anyways, but gluten-free foods are going to have more sugar and more carbs because they're trying to make it palatable. They're trying to make it tasty. They're trying to make it not taste like you're eating cardboard. And for the most part, it still kind of feels like you're eating cardboard. Okay, myth number 5, low-fat foods are better for you. All right, so when we're trying to watch our weight, the low-fat option may seem to be the way to go. Unfortunately, your good intentions may leave you worse off. So low-fat is often synonymous with loaded with salt and cheap carbohydrates. Again, this is in processed foods. As you'll remember, a high intake of carbs can be stored in the body as fat. This will inevitably lead to weight gain, despite your best intention to reduce your fat intake. Our brain is 60% fat, and our brain is 60% fat, and that level of fat is needed to maintain brain health and function. So you're better off getting the full fat version, just using less of it. I'm a big fan of grass-fed butter, organic whole cream. That's the good stuff. Good for the brain. All right, myth number 6, yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. All right, so this is actually true, but you have to make sure that your yogurt contains live active cultures. Unfortunately, most yogurt products are loaded with sugar, causing more harm than good. In fact, the added sugar does promote unhealthy gut bacteria growth. So what we're looking for is Lactobacillus acidophilus. This is the bacteria you want to look for in your yogurt. Your best bet is to purchase plain yogurt and add your own flavors with fresh fruits or honey and cinnamon. Uh, Now, take a look at your yogurt. If it doesn't state that it has live active cultures on the label, then just stop buying it because all you're doing is actually eating a dessert disguised as a healthy option. Those are going to be the ones that are full of sugar. All right, myth number 7, egg yolks raise your cholesterol. So there has been much debate about the health of eggs over the years, and the verdict's in. Eggs are healthy. Yay! All right. While it's true that egg yolks contain dietary cholesterol, research has proven that dietary cholesterol has almost nothing to do with your blood cholesterol levels. Again, I would refer to that the Great Cholesterol Myth book that I read. Eggs are one of the healthiest foods you can eat. One egg has only 75 calories, but 7 grams of high quality protein, along with iron, vitamins, and minerals. The egg is noted as a powerhouse of disease fighting nutrients such as lutein. So skip the egg whites only breakfast and indulge in your egg yolks, the whole egg. Myth number 8, organic produce is more nutritious. All right, so the truth about buying organic. It's not that it's more nutritious. It just doesn't have the pesticides, right? Which is really important. The more organic you can buy, the better off you're going to be. However, I would rather you ate non-organic fruits and vegetables as opposed to buying something out of a box or a bag. It's just a better option. Okay. If you're concerned about the quality of your produce, but you can't afford the price of the organic, you could try locally grown farmers markets. Chances are that they're going to have less chemical exposure too, versus the big growers. When foods don't have to travel that far, they can be harvested closer to the time they are meant to be eaten, ensuring optimal nutritional content. Again, the important thing is a variety in your diet. If you cannot afford organic, just wash your produce in vinegar, salt, or baking soda. We actually use vinegar and salt, and it's interesting to watch the little bugs come crawling out of the strawberries that we wash. Pretty exciting. All right, myth number 9. It's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. There have been claims that eating small, frequent meals throughout the day can help increase your metabolism. Sorry to say, there is no evidence to back up this claim. The truth is, whether you eat 2 to 3 meals per day or 5 or 6 smaller meals, the outcome has the exact same effect on the total calories burned. If you're worried about your blood sugar control, then think protein. More protein is going to provide balanced blood sugar for longer periods of time. Okay. Eating small meals throughout the day may help curb your appetite by preventing excessive hunger, but the benefits are going to stop there. And again, if it's more protein in those meals, then you may not need those 5 or 6 meals a day. You may end up just needing the 3, and you still won't have those cravings from that. Now, speaking of protein, all right, myth number 10, people who work out need extra protein. So this may be true for Olympic and professional athletes, but the average person does not need to consume additional protein when working out if you're already getting enough protein in your diet. Okay, and that's the key. You have to be consuming enough. All right, most of us are already consuming more than what is recommended, and this is based on our FDA. The average person consumes 77.5 grams of protein in a day. That's 146% of the dietary reference intake for a 145 pound adult. Again, these are their numbers. So let's take a look at how much you need. Okay, so according to the National Institute of Health, the recommended daily allowance, the RDA, for protein intake is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram. Kilogram is there's 2.2 kilograms per pound of body weight, or 0.36 grams per pound of body weight. All right. However, they also note that a healthier diet can consist of 10 to 35% protein. Um, and like I said before, I'm a fan of carnivore. So I tend to have more protein on the plate and less of the vegetables. Um, but again, you have to find out what works for you. Okay. So determining your personalized protein needs will involve some math. So to start, you're going to need to convert your weight to kilograms. And this can be done by multiplying your weight in pounds by 0.454. Next, you're going to multiply your weight in kilograms by the recommended protein value in grams to obtain your total daily protein needs. So, for example, if you weigh 140 pounds, we're going to multiply 140 by 0.454, and this is going to equate to 63.56 kilograms. A healthy, inactive person requires 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Thus, we multiply 63.56 by the 0.8 to get the 50 grams of protein. If this person is already getting more than 50 grams of protein per day and starts working out, there is no need to increase protein intake. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, eating more protein will help with the cravings, the foods that you're trying to limit or remove from your diet altogether. I recommend about half your weight in protein. Example, if you weigh 200 pounds, try to consume 100 grams of protein in a day. Again, this is just to help you stay fuller and feel fuller longer so that you don't have those cravings. Okay? All right. So, protein ounce for ounce. So, a list of common foods and their protein content. So, 1 ounce of protein equates to the following: 1 ounce of meat, 1 ounce of poultry, 1 ounce of seafood, quarter cup of cooked beans, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, half an ounce of seeds, half an ounce of nuts. So a 6 ounce steak equals 168 grams of protein. Love me some steak. All right. I know I've covered a lot of information today. And again, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. And like I said, we'll go over those at the end, just for the sake of time, for those of you that have to get back to work or get back to doing what you're doing. I am here to help. We're going to just quickly go over the 10 myths that we debunked. So myth number 1 was all calories are created equal. Number 2 is carbs make you fat. 3, healthy food is more expensive. 4, gluten-free is the way to go. 5, low-fat foods are better for you. 6, yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. Number 7, egg yolks raise your cholesterol. Number 8, organic produce is more nutritious. Number 9, it's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. Number 10, people who work out need extra protein. All right. So some final tips. So eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated, and it is possible on any budget. And don't beat yourself up budget-wise if you can't afford the organic, right? Just do your best. That's all any of us can do. When planning your trip, avoid clipping the coupons because they are typically only for processed foods. So if you've got the coupons, you're going to be tempted to do that. So I would strongly recommend not clipping coupons for anything that is a processed food. Next, take an inventory of what you already have in your kitchen before you go shopping to avoid overbuying or buying which foods would just end up wasting. Shop the perimeter of the store. This is where the healthier items are. The center of the store contains all those boxed and processed foods, which should be avoided. Try new recipes or ways of cooking your favorite foods. Veggies can be prepared in many ways. Like I said, we bought a spiralizer and to replace pasta, and we spiralize zucchini, and um, we absolutely love it. It's or what is it? Spaghetti squash. That's another one that's really. My son's not a fan of the spaghetti squash. He likes the zucchini noodles though. So there's options. Look for local in-season produce and replace your high-fat proteins with lean meats or plant-based options. And when I say plant-based, I'm not talking. Um, oh gosh, what's the new fake meat that's out? Beyond Meat or something like that. I'm not talking fake meats, right? You either eat meat or you eat beans and legumes, kind of a thing. I'm not. Don't eat the fake stuff. All right, so this next slide is going to have a list of resources from today. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to either ask in the chat box, or again, if you're watching this at a later date, don't hesitate to contact me with your questions. Okay. All right. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I know some of the information I provided may take a bit of time to sink in. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to me for questions. If you need help building a personalized diet, send me a message. We can work together. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask. I did want to share a limited time offer, 50% off your initial consultation. If you mention this webinar, even if you're watching it after the fact, I will honor that savings. So again, thank you for attending. Please feel free to contact me. This is my contact information. And if you have any questions, or if you want to schedule your initial consultation, I look forward to meeting with you guys. And thank you so much for attending, and be well. Thanks.